Hello everybody, welcome to EducatION Education Challenge. As a company, we are always on the lookout for how we can make more of a difference in our surrounding community. This is what brings us here today as we fundraise for Elevation Networks and SEO London, two charities that strive to extend further education opportunities and ongoing support to young people from disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds. They have been preparing for weeks and are led by the SEO CEO Andrew Fairbairn and Elevation Networks Managing Director Barbara Kasumu, who will act as the team captains today. On the teams, you will also spot some of our own, Alex Pir Mohammed and Vasco Souza, who are here to contribute, although from my understanding of their general knowledge, they may be here mainly for your entertainment. We will soon see. Now, some ground rules, ladies and gentlemen. Standing here taking part is no mean feat, so I would like to ask for your silence, complete silence, throughout the duration of the game. If you know the answer, keep it to yourself. This will also keep the quality of the live stream audio clear for all who are watching from across the world. To our live stream audience, welcome. So one other little house rule. We've had a little bit of a glitch and one of our charities is running late. So we have split SEO across the two tables to stand in for the Elevation Network team until they arrive. So for now, we are only introducing SEO. So I will let our team captain, Andrew, start with the introductions. Mike.
So we... Hi, so I'm Andrew Fairbairn with SEO London. I'm the founder and CEO of the organization. On our team, we have Joel Summers and Vasco Souza, who is going to be leading the charge representing ION. So we're terribly excited. We're confident that our team is going to win, and there you are. So thank you.
Yes, Joel Summers, Schools and Project Manager at SEO London.
Vasco Souza, Global Head of Client Services, ATP for ION.
Julie Quisperson, Head of Law Programs at SEO London. Nervous.
I'm Matt Gray. I'm one of the Contribution Steering Committee members for ION.
And Alex Per Mohammed, I run Fixed Income at ION.
Okay, let's give it up for both teams. So, the game will consist of 6 rounds, including 1 picture and 1 music round, in which teams will be asked a starter question for 10 points, followed by 3 or 4 bonus questions thematically linked to the starter question for 15 or 20 points. That's 5 points per question. No interruption or conference is allowed for the starter question, and whoever buzzes is to answer. A reminder to the team. Interruption of the starter will result in a 5-point penalty deducted from your team. If you also answer incorrectly, then you will hear this noise. And the privilege will be passed to the other team. Conference is allowed for the bonus questions, which may require several answers with the points split between them. The answer for the bonus questions will be given by the team captain, Andrew and Julie, standing in for Barbara, unless another member of the team is specified with the phrase nominate name. So nominate Pir Mohammed, nominate Souza. This means anyone can buzz and the captain can then say nominate their name, allowing them to answer. Every correct answer will be noted by this noise. So, we will begin with an example starter question. So this is an example, but if it was a real thing, it would be for 10 points, no conference. Fingers on the buzzers, please. On what exact weekday and full date was the referendum for the prospective withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union held? SEO?
Thursday, 24th June 2016.
Elevation Networks. Now, this is a starter question, which means if you buzz, you answer. Yes.
Then I think it's Thursday, 17th of June, 2016.
Okay. You have both failed. The correct answer was Thursday, the 23rd of June, 2016. Okay? Now we move on to the example bonus question, which I remind you, you may confer, and the captain either answers or nominates one of the team to answer. Fingers on the buzzers, please. What is the full name of the molecule that carries the genetic instructions used in the growth, development, functioning, and reproduction of all known living organisms and many viruses, which in its shortened form is known as DNA? Elevation Networks, you may confer.
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yes, you do.
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
That's correct for 5 points.
There we go.
So
You're
let's
getting a point for that.
hope you all.
That doesn't count.
No, that was an example. Okay, so now do we all get how it works? So now we're gonna. All right. So now we're gonna move on to the real thing. Okay. So first round for 10 points. No conference. Fingers on buzzers, please. Saddam Hussein was deposed from his role as president of Iraq in 2003 in a US-led coalition operation invasion of Iraq, during which US President George W. Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair accused him of possessing Elevation Network.
Weapons of mass destruction.
That's correct for 10 points. Okay, moving on to the bonus questions. These are open to both teams. Fingers on the buzzers, please. A reminder, for 5 points, you may confer. Which president was the subject of the film The Last King of Scotland? And in...
Could I interrupt? Is that okay?
You may interrupt.
Idi Amin.
And this is a very good example of sometimes why it's not good to always interrupt. And in which country did he preside over? Elevation Networks? So you're looking for the two answers.
Idi Amin, Uganda.
Correct for 5 points. Okay. Second. All right. Second bonus question in our politics round. Which monarch was born a member of the House of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glücksburg into the Greek and Danish royal families, abandoning all former titles, became a naturalized SEO London?
Prince Philip.
Again, this is a good example of why sometimes interrupting a bonus question is not good. And what is their official title today? So they've given you half the answer, Elevation Networks.
Prince Philip, Prince Consort of the United Kingdom.
Okay, so unfortunately we lose that. It was Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Okay. And so we move on to the final bonus question in our politics round. Fingers on the buzzers, conference allowed for 5 points. Which 4 American presidents are carved into the granite face of a batholith in the Black Hills in Keystone, South Dakota, United States, and what is the site more commonly known as? Elevation Network?
It's known as Mount Rushmore.
You have to be nominated by...
Nominate Ray.
Okay.
It's known as Mount Rushmore. The presidents are FDR, Lincoln.
Can you
Roosevelt.
confer and give us your final answer, please?
Well, we get to do that. Lincoln, for sure.
And you have to give the full names, please. So SCO, be getting ready to steal this if they're not ready.
Oh, we're ready. We're ready.
All right. Teddy Roosevelt, FDR,
What's Teddy's real name?
Theodore Roosevelt,
Okay.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, and George Washington.
All right. Over to SEO London.
So the site is Mount Rushmore, and the presidents are Jefferson,
Real name or full name?
Thomas Jefferson,
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, and George Washington.
Well done for 5 points.
Shoots and scores.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to our picture round. Okay, everybody watch the screen. Name the process described in this picture by which alcohol is made. Elevation network.
Distillation?
That's correct for 10 points. Okay. And now we move on to our bonus questions. A reminder, conference allowed, 5 points. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Name the bacterial infection of the small intestine, often found in the developing world and after natural disasters, spread mostly by the ingestion of food and water.
Nominate Gray.
E. coli.
You got it wrong because
I didn't answer. I didn't wait for you to say the whole question.
correct. Contaminated with human feces with symptoms ranging from watery diarrhea, vomiting, and muscle cramps leading to severe dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. SEO London.
Okay, we nominate Joel.
Is it cholera?
Correct for 5 points. Okay, next question, next bonus question for 5. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Which famous scientist works?
Marie Curie?
Correct. For 5 points. You guys need to be quicker on your buzzers there. Okay, final question in our science and medical round. Bonus question for 5, conference allowed. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Which viral disease globally that causes inflammation of the brain in humans and other mammals spread when an infected animal scratches or bites another animal or human with early symptoms including fever and tingling? Elevation networks.
Rabies?
Correct for 5 points.
Glad you're on our team.
Okay, so now we are moving on to our ancient history and philosophy round. Okay, are we ready? SEO London, you need to be quicker on those buzzers. I can see you suffered a bit from your jump the gun. All right, so ready to go, everybody, for 10 points. No conference allowed. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Which fictional island is mentioned within an allegory on the hubris of nations in Plato's works Timaeus and Critias, where it represents the antagonist naval power that besieges ancient Athens, the pseudo-historic embodiment of Plato's ideal state, eventually falling out of favor with the deities and submerging into the Atlantic Ocean? SEO London.
Oh, unfair.
Atlantis?
Correct for 10 points. Well done. Okay, now we move on to our bonus questions, of which there are 4 in this round, so we had the chance to get more points. Okay, so for 5 points, and conference allowed, fingers on the buzzers, please. Which Roman king appears in the Christian Gospel of Matthew as the ruler of Judea who orders the massacre of all babies at the time? Elevation networks.
King Herod.
Yes, correct. For 5 points. Okay. All right, so a massacre of all babies at the time of Jesus, and of course the answer was King Herod, otherwise known as Herod the Great. Okay, second bonus question. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Which modern internationally held event can be traced back to its origins in 776 BC when it was held in honor of Zeus and SEO London? Conference allowed.
We're nominating Joel again.
Yeah.
Olympic Games?
Correct for 5 points. Okay. And we can move on to the next bonus question in our ancient history and philosophy round. And fingers on the buzzers, please, for 5 points, conference allowed. Dominus Illuminatio Mea appears on the coat of arms of which British establishment? SEO, London?
Joel will lead us.
You can, conference allowed.
Is it the City of London?
Elevation Networks, would you like to have a go?
Church of England.
Okay. The answer actually is the University of Oxford. Okay. Probably one of the most famous coat of arms in the British state.
Anyone
Yes.
go there?
Okay. So moving on to the final bonus question in our ancient history and philosophy round. This one is not so ancient history, but it's historic nonetheless. Fingers on the buzzers for 5 points, please. Name the German-born diarist, one of the most discussed Elevation Networks.
Nominate Pierre Mohammed.
And France.
Correct. Well done for 5 points. So one of the most discussed Jewish victims of the Holocaust who gained fame posthumously with the publication of The Diary of a Young Girl, originally Het Achterhuis, English The Secret Annex, in which she documents her life hiding from 1942 to 1944 during the German occupation of the Netherlands in World War II. And you did very well for your contribution. You interrupted at the fourth word and you got the answer right. So well done,
Saving time.
Alex. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the sports round,
Okay.
which everybody, all the men are getting very excited about, but not quite as easy as you think there will be. Okay? Are we ready? Start a question for 10 points, no conference allowed. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Brazilian-born football star Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., born in 1992, holds the record for having commanded the highest Football Association transfer fee of £198 million in 2017. Which clubs did he transfer from and to? SEO London.
Transferred from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain.
Correct for 10 points. Well done, SEO. I was quick to the buzzer there. So we move on to our bonus questions for 5 points, conference allowed. Either the captain answers or they nominate one of their team. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Name the American NFL team who plays their home games at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, and in whose name... Elevation Networks.
Ravens, Baltimore Ravens.
And in whose name is comprised a slang term usually considered offensive referring to Native Americans. SEO London?
It's not the Boston Red Sox. The DC Redskins, the Washington Redskins.
Well done for 5 points. Good comeback. Okay, so well done for that. Moving on to our second bonus question in our sporting round. Fingers on the buzzers, please, for 5 points. Which sport comprises of 4 major men's championship tournaments? Elevation Networks.
Tennis.
Okay, so now it's gone over to SEO. Of 4 major men's championship tournaments held every year in April, June, July, and August, with the July tournament being the only one that occurs in a different country to the others, and what are those tournaments called? If you'd like me to repeat the question, please let me know. Okay? Because it's a bonus question. Which sport comprises of 4 major men's championship tournaments held every year in April, June, July, and August, with the July tournament being the only one that occurs in a different country to the others, and what are those tournaments called?
We're going to guess it's the PGA Tour. Golf.
Okay, so you did not listen to the question correctly. The question was, you only got part of the answer, which is not the full answer, unfortunately. It was golf, and PGA was one of the answers, but the question was, which sport? So that was the golf, and what are the tournaments called? And they are the Masters, the US Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship, okay?
Well,
All right. Okay, so we move on to our next bonus question of our sports round. For 5 points, fingers on the buzzer, please. Which race has finished since 1975 with laps of the Champs-Élysées? Elevation Network.
Tour de France.
You need to nominate.
Nominate Pierre Mohammed.
Thank you. Tour de France.
Correct for 5 points. Okay. And we move on to the final bonus question in our sporting round. See, I told you they weren't easy. Fingers on the buzzers, please, for 5 points. Name the Scottish sport derived from the same root as the Irish game of hurling with unique features and rules. Elevation Network.
Nominate Pierre Mohammed.
Microphone, please.
Shinty.
Correct for 5 points. Well done. That was very good. Okay. So it was with unique features and rules, played with sticks and a ball, and often likened to the field game of hockey, but different as a player can play the ball in the air and can use both sides of the stick, called a caman, which is wooden and slanted on both sides. And the answer was, of course, shinty. So congratulations, Mr. Pierre Mohammed. Okay. So now we're going to have the music round, and if you just bear with me for 30 seconds whilst I pull this up. You are going to get the first 10 seconds. And until the 10 seconds is over, you may not interrupt. For 10 points, fingers to the buzzers, please. Okay. SEO London, I'm looking for the band and the full title of the song. No conference allowed. Start a question.
The band is The Police, and the song is Every Breath You Take.
Well done for 10 points. Okay, so now we move on to the bonus questions of the music round. For 5 points and conference allowed, reminder, either the captain answers or you nominate one of your team. Fingers are on buzzers, please. Which member of the police who went on to have the most successful career of them all? SEO London.
Oh, nominated. Joel.
It's a Sting.
Correct. Has the full name Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner. Okay. Next bonus question. You see this is linked to the previous one. Fingers on the buzzers for 5 points, please. In 1993, Sting performed a song called All for Love as part of the film The Three Musketeers. He performed the song with Rod Stewart and which other artist? Elevation Networks. You may confer. Into the microphone.
Brian Adams.
Well done. Calculated risk. Okay, well done for 5 points. Okay, so next bonus question for 5 points. Fingers on the buzzers, please. Which Brian Adams song from the album and film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves spent 16... SEO London? I need the full name of the song.
Joel.
Embarrassed to know that it's everything I do it for you.
Well done.
I wish it was wrong.
One of the greatest love songs of all time, which of course spent 16 consecutive weeks at #1 on the UK singles chart, the longest and unbroken record in British chart history, and went on to sell more than 15 million copies worldwide, making it his most successful song. So an incredible interruption from SEO London went off Joel for 5 points. And
What's the song?
Everything I do it for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we move on to the final bonus question in our music round. For 5 points, fingers on the buzzers, please. Which American singer and actor with the first name Harry Lillis, who died in 1977, sang the best-selling single of all time, White Christmas? Elevation Networks.
Frank Sinatra.
A reminder to use your microphones, please. So they said Frank Sinatra, and the answer was wrong. So now we pass over to SEO London.
Can we repeat the question?
Okay. Which American singer and actor with the first name Harry Lillis, who died in 1977, sang the best-selling single of all time, White Christmas?
We're
Nominate. Oh, okay.
Bing Crosby.
Well done for 5 points. Oh, fantastic. So now we have Elevation Networks just walked in just before the last round. So if you just bear with us for 2 seconds whilst we get them back up. Julie, you may take your seat back on the other side. Well done. We don't actually know who's winning, but the score is being kept, and you've arrived just in time for the last round. And I may even throw in what was going to be the sudden death question, even if we're not tied, just so you enjoy the experience a little bit more. So, a reminder that the starter question, whoever buzzes must answer. There cannot be any conference. And the bonus questions, and for the starter questions, you cannot interrupt. So there cannot be any interruption. If you interrupt, you get a 5-point penalty for your team, and it moves to the other team. For the bonus questions, you can interrupt, you can confer, and they are for 5 points. Any questions before we continue?
No pressure.
Okay. All right. So, starter question, this is our movie round. For 10 points, no conference. Whoever buzzes answers. Fingers on the buzzers, please. We ready? Which actor stars opposite Jim Carrey in comedy Dumb and Dumber? SEO London. You cannot confer. This is a starter question. No, he doesn't.
Nope.
It's a starter question.
Jeff Daniels.
Correct for 10 points. Okay. So, our first bonus question for the film round for 5 points. Fingers on the buzzers, please, everybody. A reminder, you can confer, and either the team captain, which is Andrew or Barbara, will give the answer, or they will nominate one of their team to give the answer. So, for 5 points, fingers on the buzzers, please. Which film, based on the memoir of the same name by Jordan Belfort, recounts Belfort's perspective on his career as a stockbroker? SEO London.
Joel will
Nominate Joel.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Well done, that's for 5 points. Okay, and our second bonus question. This one is fun, my personal favorite of this entire thing. So, for 5 points, and this is one that has a multiple answer, and for all 5 points, you need to give all 5 answers. If you give 4 answers, you will get the question wrong and it will pass to the other team. Okay? Clear. So fingers on the buzzer, please, for 5 points. The Sound of Music is a musical film set in Austria on the eve of the Anschluss in 1938 that tells the story of a young woman who takes a job as a governess to a large family while she decides whether to become a nun. Complete the next 5 lines of the song from the film. Doe, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Here, London.
Nominate Julie.
You have to be sure. If you do not get all 5, it passes to the next team. Okay?
Me, a name I call myself. Far, a long, long way to run.
A what?
Long, long way to run.
Mm-hmm.
So, a needle pulling thread.
Mm-hmm.
La, a note to follow so. Tea, a drink of jam and bread.
That's correct for 5 points. Well done, SEO London. That was for the other Sound of Music hardcore buffs like me. All right, so now we move on to the next bonus question. This one is very hard. It's getting very hard as we approach the end of the quiz. Fingers on buzzers, please. This is also a multiple answer question where I'm looking for 5 answers to get the 5 points. A well-known German film score composer who has composed music for over 150 films. Give his name and name 4 films the score for which he has composed. SEO London, you may confer. I'm looking for the name of the film score composer and 4 films the score for which he has composed. Elevation Networks, you should be also conferring. Turn your microphone away so they don't hear you, and get ready to steal the answer away if they're not ready. Are we ready, SEO?
We are. Joel's going to answer for us. Our ringer.
Big guess. It's Hans Zimmer.
Mm-hmm.
4 films are Interstellar, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Which one?
Dead Man's Chest.
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator. And I want to say The Dark Knight.
Well done. That was exceptional. So, to be clear, I did try to trick you because actually he composed for all of the Pirates of the Caribbean, but I wanted the full name, not just number 1, 2, and 3. So it was, of course, Hans Zimmer, and some of the films that he has composed for include The Lion King, The Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, On Stranger Tides, Dead Man Tell No Tales. He has also composed for The Thin Red Line, Gladiator, The Last Samurai, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, 12 Years a Slave, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and most recently, Blade Runner 2049. Okay, so we've got 2 more questions that are left, 1 bonus question in our film round, and then 1 additional question that has nothing to do with all of the others. So, for the final bonus question in our film round, fingers on the buzzers, please, for 5 points. Name the Canadian filmmaker, inventor, engineer, philanthropist, and deep-sea explorer who wrote, directed, produced, and co-edited the highest-grossing film of all time, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, London. Nominate Joel.
Nominate Joel.
It's James Cameron.
Well done for 5 points. Okay, so finishing the question, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, and Sigourney Weaver, and set in the mid-22nd century when humans are colonizing Pandora, a lush habitable moon of a gas giant in the Alpha Centauri star system, in order to mine a mineral, unobtainium, a room temperature superconductor, a film that earned him 3 Academy Awards for Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, and Best Visual Effects, having been nominated for 9 awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. He also wrote and edited Aliens, The Terminator, The Abyss, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, True Lies, and Titanic, the second highest grossing film of all time, which earned him 3 Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. Basically, he's very rich. So we now move on to the very final question of our quiz, and this will be treated as a starter question. That means it is for 10 points. Incorrect interruption will net you a 5-point penalty, and it will be passed to the other team. And whoever buzzes answers, no conference. Fingers on the buzzers, please, for the last question of our Education Challenge 2017. Name the English politician, philanthropist, and most famous English abolitionist, leader of the movement to stop the slave trade, buried in Westminster Abbey, whose campaign led to the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which Elevation Network. Correct for 10 points. Give it up for the teams, please. So a big well done to both SEO and Elevation Networks and some of the SEO team members that gained some points for Elevation Network before they arrived. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the game. Let's appreciate our participants again. So what we will now do is to move on to the brief presentations prepared by Andrew and Barbara is going to go first, on what their organizations do and how you can get involved to help. You will have the chance to ask them a couple of questions after their presentations, and for those watching online, please leave your comments on YouTube. We have somebody here who will pick them up and ask them to the presenters also. For any questions that we don't have the time for today, we will follow up with Andrew and Barbara and their teams and get them to the responses to you in the next week or so. And following on from the presentations and Q&A, we will announce the winning team and present trophies. We have trophies, ladies and gentlemen. And for those attending here in London, there will be lunch and networking afterwards. So please help me appreciate Barbara as she comes up to give her presentation. So you can just grab the microphone and the presentation will be over there.
Who's clicking?
He needs to give you so you can
Okay.
click.
Perfect. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform where young youth held crime as their local anthem. Please mind the gap. Calling ourselves the United Kingdom, and yet for some reason some of us are left with no dominion. See, my name is Barbara, and over 10 years ago, I co-founded Youth Employment Elevation Networks with the aim of bridging the gap between underrepresented groups and the world of work. Why? Because growing up, we never had the of aspiration. My mum bringing us around a table and saying, thank you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it sounded like a question with choices, but it wasn't. Doctor, lawyer, accountant, pick one. And whilst we never lacked the poverty of aspiration, what we did lack were the appropriate networks to be able to navigate the world of work. I grew up in a single parent home on a council estate in Camden, and all with the idea that, yes, you know, I could be an amazing lawyer, I could be an amazing doctor. But did I know any lawyers? Did I know any doctors? Did I even go to a school that even encouraged that kind of career choice? And so by the time I got to university, we remember asking the question, why aren't employers coming to our university? Why aren't they rushing to find us? What was wrong? Why wasn't the playing field quite even? And so we set up Elevation Networks. And for us, now, over 10 years in, we are an award-winning youth employment charity seeking to recognize a little bit deeper and ask, oh, actually, have we thought about this group? Or who are we missing here? Or if an employer can't reach all the universities, how can we leverage our network to be able to ensure that even more people are coming through the talent pipeline? Some of our accolades and recognition and rewards that we've got as a result of the work that we've done. Remember that when we set this up, we were just students in our second year at university. And now we're an organisation that has the reach to and has the prominence that we have been able to achieve to date. But we can't do it alone. We need more of you. Our focus primarily is on 3 key areas. So we work with employers to design and deliver talent attraction programs, campaigns, marketing events. We have a huge emphasis on social action and leadership because actually, for a lot of the young people that are from for any job, but it's not what I want to do. And we do a lot of work around raising aspirations amongst even the young people with the most challenging lives. So some of the flagship sort of programs that I wanted to emphasize today, just so there was a chance of seeing what could yourselves as colleagues, as employees here do to get involved with the work that we're doing. One of our flagship student program is our Student Leadership Development Program. And this is again about recognizing the leadership potential that exists within our student network and ensuring that we can take a cohort through a program that really develops their leadership potential, but also gives them something to do, something to say when it comes to answering those core competencies when at interview. National Citizen Service. So this summer we had just under 1,000 young people come through our program across the country, all with the desire and ambition to be able to start thinking about how they serve their local community, but also how they start to think about their careers and employability even from a young age. And finally, our flagship Visible Women campaign. So this is asking the question, if women aren't represented in male-dominated industries or in senior positions, how can we ensure and empower the next generation to, one, recognize and see role models, but also to pursue those careers? And to date, we've supported over 15,000 young women and girls across the UK, primarily through our mentoring programs in schools, colleges, and at university. And this is, in summary, how you can get involved. And I think anyone can start, anyone can get involved. We love what we do, we're passionate about what we do, and essentially we are our name. We want to elevate a young person's network. Thank you. So any questions, either remotely or in the room? Sorry, any questions? Hi. My name's Danny. I'm an employee of ION. Hi, Danny.
Thanks. My name's Danny. I'm an employee of ION. A question I've got with regards to getting women into different industries is how do you identify those industries? Because I know that the financial sector, if you look around the room, we've got a majority of the people in the audience here are male. When the trading floors used to exist, there was something like 97% male on the trading floors, whereas it's statistically proven that women are better traders, but men dominate the trading floor. So how do you identify the industries that you move into for women, trying to get women into those industries, and has the finance area come up in those searches?
Sure, thank you. So for us, very much we started within banking and finance as a sector, as an industry. So we've worked with many of the investment banks, many of the city banks in general, as well as the big four accounting firms. So what we primarily have done with those are developed and delivered mentoring programs and schemes, as well as first year insight weeks or work experience programs for those that for women that were in their first year at university. We've now sort of started to pivot a little bit, and we've also explored STEM careers, so looking at engineering as a starting point. Because we have an office in the Midlands, there's a lot of work that we can do locally for where there's a higher concentration of engineering firms. So that's sort of been the progression. And then on the other side, we've looked at, well, most industries where it's very male dominated at the top, and there's been work with those that are women that are in middle management, and seeing how they can come back and sort of inspire the next generation to have a culture shift when they go into the workplace, and not assuming a ceiling, but actually navigating and thinking about succession planning more broadly. So we've definitely sort of swept our way, but we started very much within banking and finance and have explored and gone much broader. But there's still much to do, for sure.
Do we have any questions that are coming in online? Any questions for anyone here in London? Then let's give it up for Barbara. And now Andrew is going to come and present about SEO London and what they do.
Hello, everyone. Great to have you all here. This is a lot of fun. So and thank you particularly, Isabel, for putting this on. This is really something very different and very special. So thank you for that. So SEO London. I think we share a lot of characteristics with Elevation Networks in terms of our goals and aspirations for young people in the world. I think of ourselves, we work in 3 primary areas. So we work with secondary schoolers, we work with university students, and we work with the alumni of all of our programs to sort of ensure that not only they get into a job, but they're actually going to take off and lead. We have one of our alumni, for instance, came to us back in the year 2000 and is now, as an alumnus, a partner of Goldman Sachs. So we've been able to see the entire cycle, and now she's on our board, and the cycle continues. So at any rate, we have this one organization, 3 different programs, and a fundamental philosophy that underpins every single thing we do is this notion of it's not about you, it's the people who come after you. Because I went through SEO back in 1995, and I wouldn't have gotten into that program in New York, working with Lehman Brothers. I don't know if anyone's heard of that vaunted name. But I got my start on Wall Street at Lehman Brothers because of SEO. I didn't know any bankers or lawyers or whatnot. I was just out of those networks. And when I arrived in London working for Deutsche Bank a few years later, I looked around and said, there could be a lot of diversity work done here in the UK. And it wasn't a thing back then. It was something less than a thing. It was management consultants talking about diversity, but nothing much happening at an institutional level. We have a similar notion of a cycle where we try and find young people. We solicit funds from major corporations to hire our staff, who then go out into the world, bring together people, train them up, and get them ready to sort of do well in the world. But today, we hear the phrase, I heard about you from at least once or twice a week. Somebody has done well in their career, after having benefited from our programming, and is now the head of something, or this or that, at some firm somewhere in the world, and wants to re-engage. And that sort of alumni-driven concept really underpins everything we do. I gave the example earlier of our alumna at Goldman Sachs. If we make this work, if we've done our work well, people come in at an early sort of, we'll call it vulnerable point in their career life cycle, and are able to sort of benefit from our training, get all the access they need, get all the support they need, and just sort of do really well in their world. And it comes back and feeds back into the next generation of people that we're trying to serve. SEO is actually a much bigger thing than just London. So way back in 1963, it was founded as a program for high school kids coming out of tough environments in New York and getting them into universities. After a while, that moved from being a program for high school kids getting to college, or university kids getting jobs. The kids were getting jobs, but they weren't getting the jobs. And I think everybody in this room probably have a grasp of what that might imply. So they started in 1980 a careers program focused on Wall Street, 10 kids at 4 banks, and it was that program that I went through many years later in '95 that gave me my shot. In 2000, here, working for Deutsche, set up SEO London. Just, me, my credit card, and a bunch of volunteers, really a bunch of American expats who are wondering what to do with their time. We've launched in China since then, Vietnam, and now in Accra and Ghana. And so this is a global network of folks who are all coming with that same notion of it's not about you, it's the people who come after you, and trying to create those networks so we can elevate, just like these guys are doing, the people in communities that are currently underserved. I've used this line earlier, but it's amazing to see where we are today. From 2000, when I arrived, I was sort of patted on the head and said, what a nice American concept to bring to England. We have a class problem, not a race problem in this country, which you all can take as however you want to take that statement. But we're now in a place where there are dozens of organizations that attempt to work in this space and do great work. And I think we're in a golden age for diversity in the workplace, and that's a good thing. The world is in a better place today. When we talk about workplace diversity, that's where we spend most of our time. We deal with the big 3 for the most part: ethnicity, gender, and social mobility. In truth, we are not working a lot with folks who have physical disabilities, mental disabilities, LGBT world, veterans, and at-risk individuals. We're just not there. Not that we don't have all kinds of love and support for that, we're just not geared for that. And if we're gonna deliver our service to the community in the way we want to do it, we have to be at scale, we have to be robust, and we're just not at scale or robust here yet. But if anyone wants to talk about helping out there, absolutely, let's talk about it. Diversity is really, in my mind, though, something more about difference. And so I have down here in the bottom right, I'm not sure if folks online can see this, but over 40s, lateral hires, refugees, people like Marmite, difference comes in many different forms. And I would just suggest that we run towards difference. I mean, if you guys are thinking about how can we make this happen in our organization, look for folks who are different and embrace them. Get them to help you understand their world better, because that's going to give you deeper insights into the way the world works from their perspective, which is only going to make you a better trader, better coder, better whatever it is your job may be. This is the obligatory logo slide. We work with a lot of great firms. We've been working with Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, now Bank of Merrill Lynch, for all of our 17 years, Citi for 16 of those years. We've seen a rush of interest in the asset management space, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's coming off of RFPs or what, but that's an expanding space for us right now. We work with a ton of law firms and have a great program running both in the civil service and in the engineering world. We're doing some amazing firms, we put on great programs, and we're very happy with where we are. And so if you'd like to join us, please do so. You're in great company. That's the point of this slide. This is my last slide, and then I'll shut up. We're doing a lot of things internally right now. I mean, there's a CRM system we're building out. There's a lot of issues around data protection and being efficient with the folks you work with. A CRM would really help us out. We went out and did an RFP and found the cost was something like £25,000, and then did it again and found out no, it's probably a lot more than that. So we're trying to increase our budget for that. We've just moved locations. We used to be in Holborn. Now we're off now down by Tower Bridge. And you move an office in this city and you're going to pay more money. So we're trying to offset some of our increased expenses there. And we've got 2 amazing new programs which really go to the heart of what we're trying to do. One is Her Capital. It's a program focused on women trying to enter the financial space. It's trying to bring new women into the mix. Women are in the first year of a 4-year program. It's a group of women who are typically overlooked because they're too far away from the recruitment pipeline for the firms to care about them in great depth from a graduate recruitment ROI perspective, let me couch that. So that's a fantastic new program. We're looking to top up contributions there. I think Lazard is helping us with that. Helios Capital is helping us out with there, as is Aberdeen Investment Management. The advanced program is sort of another program, cohort driven, 50 kids. We go into secondary schools all over London, find kids who are qualifying on a social mobility basis. So these are kids who are, A, state school, B, free school meals in the home, care in the home, first in their generation to go to university in this country. We've tried and find a cohort of kids there and then give them all the best tools in the world to succeed, exposure to multiple industries in the course of their high school experience. So we leverage the power of all the firms we work with to get 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds to see what life is like in a bank, in a law firm, in an engineering firm, in an ad agency, in a tech firm, and then give them all the tools so that when they get to university, if that's what they choose to do, they can then go on and take over the world. So that's me. That's SEO London. I have some crack team members here who've helped us out earlier. Any questions? Happy to answer. Yes, please.
Somebody from Ion wanted to help. Could you give an example of what that might look like? Sure.
Yeah.
If somebody from Ion wanted to help or get involved with you, could you give some examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the mentoring is sort of a simple and clear one, but also participation in our training. The reason our kids do so well is because we give them all, in these elite professions, difficult professions, is that we give them all the possible training we can. And your expertise, you're in fixed income, we would love to have you be part of our training session, for our first years who are thinking about getting their spring weeks to tell them about what's life like in a fixed income trading environment, for example. And that's one way to do it. Another is you can come into the office and help us sift through applications. Have much time in your day? Julie runs our law programming. Joel runs much of our schools programming. I think it really depends on your interest. That's what it comes down to. If you're interested in mentoring, if you're interested in training, if you're interested in hosting an event, all those things are wide open for us. So happy to talk about that at any length. Yes, sir.
Do you only take students that have come through university, or do you also take high school students?
Yeah, so we have our high school. High school is secondary school in this country. I've had to twist my brain around that coming from the States. But we take secondary schoolers. We partner with 13 schools in London. There's a broader pool of sort of 20, 30 schools that we work with, but we are specifically focused on 13 schools in all areas of London to fuel that scholars program I mentioned at the very end, where we're trying to give them that multiple industry work experience.
Any other questions? Any questions from online? No, we have a very present but very silent online community. Okay, so thank you very much.
All right, thanks
Andrew.
very much, guys. It was wonderful.
Hello, am I back on? Okay, so I'd like to invite the team captains and Mr. Pir Mohammed and Mr. Souther to join me, please. This is the bit that we've all been waiting for.
Arm wrestles?
No, no. No arm wrestles. So once again, if we'd like to give it up for the teams for participating. So this actually was much closer than I thought it was going to be. Well, I didn't really know what I thought, but thankfully, because of the penalties for jumping in ahead of time, we have a very interesting score. Now, it is not a tie break. Does anybody would you like to take a guess for who's won?
Well, since we jumped the gun a bit earlier.
And where's your microphone?
I think we jumped the gun a little bit, so perhaps we were unfortunately penalized. Maybe it was the referee.
All right. Well, Mr. bin Mohammed, seeing as you were here for most of it, who do you think won? Do you think Elevation Networks won, or do you think SEO won?
I'm obviously a little bit biased. Clearly we won. I mean, I don't know actually. I think it was close. I think with the jumping in is probably the bit. I mean, to be fair, we had a lot of help from your team as well. So I think in general, probably we all win. No, that's probably the best. We all win.
Best answer. Well done.
All right. Well, before I make the announcement, there's only a 10-point difference, actually. So it's two bonus questions and one starter question difference. And before I make the announcement, I guess I'd like to remind you, and for all our audience also watching, that actually both teams win, because we will have some of the donations that are coming in online and also that have been donated here go to one team 60% and then to the other team 40%, and ION will of course also match and add to all the donations that are coming in. So please keep donating, this is really important. And I would like to announce that the runners-up, can we have the trophies please for the runners-up? So the runners-up of the ION Education Challenge 2017 with 70 points is... Thank you very much. Elevation Networks, give it up for Elevation Networks, everyone. So now we need a picture. If you just step back for a minute, we need a picture. Who's taking the picture? Oh, yeah.
We would have won it if we got it.
Yeah, well, they all have, yeah, come on, guys. Come on down. Oh, it's the wrong way around. Have we got all the pictures now? Okay, so thank you very much. Well done, guys. I think we've got trophies for all of them. So we'd like to give Oris and Sam also some trophies. So you get a trophy for participating, even though Barbara did most of the work. Okay. And we did think 4 of you were coming, so we have an additional trophy. Oh, yes. Oh, bless. Yeah, you also worked really hard, so you... Well done. So well done, guys. That was really great. And if you just take your seats. And a huge congratulations to SEO London with 80 points, who are the winners of the ION Education Challenge 2017. Okay. Now it's a politician's picture with myself and you and there's the trophy and Vasco, and then we need to turn it around. You get to hold your trophy. Oops.
Easy.
Have we got any ION guys taking photos?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was supposed to be me, but...
Yeah.
Sure they can share.
We'll share it.
Okay, fantastic. And we get the rest of the trophies for the rest of the SEO team.
We'll have to expand our trophy cabinet.
So you will get one to take home to be really proud of. So a huge thank you also to everybody who joined in online and to everybody who made this event happen. For those people who are here in the London office, we're now going to have a period of networking and free lunch, so you all get lunch for your troubles, for coming and sitting through it. And thank you again for the teams. Help me appreciate the teams, everybody.
To make us lose so they can win.
Do you know what I realized?